back to another episode of Chakra Care for the Creative Soul. Today's topic is all about the beautiful rare blue full moon this week and miracle embodiment as it relates to birthing our dreams. Hello, I'm your host, Pollyanna Blanco, and Chakra Care for the Creative Soul is a show that offers you a sacred invitation to slow down and restore calm so you can tune into your divine creativity. In these shifting times, restoring the sacred to your self-care has never been more important. If you identify as a light worker, someone with a big heart and big dreams, I am here to support you to care as much for yourself as you care for the world while you're birthing your dreams into a beautiful reality. If you haven't yet met me, I'm going to just take a moment to introduce myself. I feel called to serve as a sacred self-care coach, a creative midwife, a Chakradance Facilitator, a quantum energy healer, and intuitive transformational teacher and author. In my energy healing practice, I champion the sacred self-care of busy light workers like yourself, awakening to their greater vision and mission so they can sustain the energy they need and the inspiration to birth their dreams and embody their light work. As a creative midwife, I weave energy healing, dance movement therapy, and intuitive guidance into a divinely inspired, unique creative process that empowers creative souls like yourself to reconnect with your true self and remember your expanded self through the process, emerging transformed through your experiences in these shifting times, inspired and ready to share your sacred soul gifts with the world. And so it's an honor and a blessing to be here with you. And I know I'm pre-recording this show. Today is actually the day of the full moon. It is July 19th, and the show is going to be airing. You'll be catching it if you're watching it now. It's Sunday, I guess it'd be the 21st, yes, or later. And so I do invite you to drop a comment below if anything that I share with you today resonates for you, if you have an aha moment, if you just want to send some energy of appreciation, because these are ways that we can really support the amplification of the energy that's really here now on the planet. And so today, in full moon energies, as a lot of you already know, they are where anything that, has been rinsing and repeating over and over again in our life that we've gleaned the learning from, the soul learning from, it's that moment to celebrate, to claim them in the experiences, and to just allow the sort of everything else to fall away, the sort of the scaffolding to fall away, allow it to just be dissolved out. And in terms of miracle embodiment, what am I talking about when I talk about miracle embodiment? That term downloaded into my field of awareness today as I was sitting with what wanted to be shared through me to you today, to serve you at this beautiful time on earth right now, is rich with infinities in your life, in all of our lives. And I want to sort of just jump back to my very first encounter with the term miracle. When I was younger, I thought miracles were something out there that were very rare, that were only relegated to saints and mystics and not to everyday, people like myself. And what I'm here to share with all of you today is that when I first encountered A Course in Miracles, there was something in it, and I'm sort of paraphrasing right now, I can't remember if this was the exact quote or not, but this was the essence of it, that miracles are as natural as breathing, that when we're not experiencing a miracle, it's sort of a signal from the universe that we can be even more present, even more in alignment with our divine presence, our divine creativity. And so from that perspective, it really flipped my understanding from my mentalization of what a miracle was on its head and opened up a crack for the light to get in, for the possibility of miracles being normal, quote unquote, normal ways of being in this world. Fast forward from that shift, that little tweak or adjustment in my mentalization of what a miracle was into lived experience. And what I've noticed throughout my journey to this point so far, even leading up to this week, is that a miracle is that shift in perspective. And at the same time, up until maybe the past few years, I understood it as that. The piece that was missing was the embodied part. Because again, I think for a lot of us, we have programmed into us, and we are getting to, not always, it's not exclusive. However, I think for a lot of us, the channel of receiving new information often comes in through the mind of form, which tries to understand it and learn it and read about it and study it. And so we have these concepts. And until they are lived experiences, they remain concepts that we sort of try to apply or paste to kind of naming things in our outer world. Experiences, what they do is they help you state those shifts in awareness into lived experience, into wisdom ultimately. And so a miracle that is embodied is a miracle that has been not just conceptualized, shifted out of an old awareness, it has been lived as an embodied experience. And so in order to do that, we can't only be in our heads, and we need to create spaciousness in our day so that we can slow down enough to trust the process that is emerging and unfolding. One of the things I feel guided to add is that when I say slow down, it doesn't mean necessarily, although it could for a period of time, mean sitting on a meditation cushion and just being still. It could be that. And it's not exclusive. It could also be moving through your day with a different experience of time, which is a miracle in and of itself in our modern busy world. So what that means is, without the mind experiencing time and running the show for us and telling us what the next thing is to do, it's about allowing the mind to calm down, feeling that connection to our body, to our heart as well, and allowing them to have input into the moment as we move through time and space, as we move through our day, as we move through our experiences. So that's embodiment. And this is the sacred invitation on these heightened peak moments like full moons to really embrace that spaciousness and to get curious and creative about where we can. One of that has been a major, I've been a dancer my whole life, from the time I was in my mother's womb on up through 17 years of ballet and then 3 years of flamenco into 13 years of ballroom dance, partnered dance. A really amazing coach once shared with me that, it's not about mimicking the outer movement, which is, this is kind of, I see it as a metaphor for life. It's about stretching out the time frame by understanding where a movement originates from inside of the body. Don't cut off part of the movement. And you fill in the movement with your presence, with an integration of the felt sense in your body, your perceptions, your in harmony through time and space. So, and this is another way I would describe this term miracle embodiment. It's that openness to and before us, which also invites us into the sacred feminine receptivity. So many of us are in that go mode, and it's disconnected somehow from that flow mode, which flow can happen when we're sitting still point. And it can also happen when we're moving through space. And something that, thanks to a moment of clarity, a miracle moment, really, because there was a shift in awareness, and I've been integrating, is that I know in my practice, I talk about the different being, and I realize I may have set up a bit of a dichotomy that somehow they're mutually exclusive. What I was trying to express through that is a nuance that I know from my own experience. When I was in go mode, oftentimes that go mode was fueled by anxiety, by depression, by things that were locked in my emotional body, in my physical body, and they were compulsions rather than necessarily, and some of it was inspired action too. It's never sort of clean cut, right? It's a little bit of everything sprinkled together. And that was the hamster wheel. That was the place miracles present. I didn't see them. Because I was so much in go mode, and I was passionate and I was inspired, but I was able to also receive the miracles and really notice where I felt them in my body, in my heart, because I was over mentalizing things and moving on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So one of the discernments I feel guided to make today on the full moon is to check in with yourself and notice where there's true passionate that graciousness for your heart and your body to be players, to be participants, not just your mind. And notice when the mind wants to run the show and kind of silence or suppress the body and the heart. One of the, in my own journey that this was happening was the shoulding, saying I have to rather than I get to, pressuring myself, telling myself things are urgent. And that's all from the ego. The ego will tell you all kinds of stories about that they need to get done and about yourself. You don't do them according to a certain timeline. And this is where I feel a lot of the mental health issues and just frenetic energy, where we look for quick solutions and senses of relief in our daily lives, emerge too, and they block out that miracle awareness. And so this is something as well too that I feel guided to share, because when we down our sense of time, it's often because we're in the present moment. We're not living in the past or living in the future. We can literally stretch out the time frame, whether we're moving our body in a dance routine, like I first learned to apply that to, or just in our day-to-day lives. We could be washing the dishes. We could be walking the dog, brushing our teeth. It's just that presence is what stretches out the time frame and invites in our multidimensional awareness to notice everything that is flooding in a way that it enlivens us, it expands us, rather than contracts us. And right now, today, I just feel guided. When I'm in Mexico, next week coming up, July 25th, is the day out of time in the Mayan calendar. It's sort of like the Mayan New Year. And I feel guided to share. I don't know if the Mayans see it this way or not, but I feel like it's the void. I feel like it's consciousness itself, inviting that spaciousness, whereas the Gregorian calendar doesn't allow for that spaciousness, and our clock time doesn't allow for an hour out of the day or a minute out of the hour or a second out of the minute, And I feel like there's a miracle in that, because it's in that spaciousness. The spaces in the miracles can show up. They become integrated because we allow ourselves the transition of being where we were, allowing everything to recalibrate and harmonize, as opposed to forcing it and with the mind. And I know this as a dancer too. You do a transition in your body to move from one step into the next. There's a certain mechanics that takes place. And I think what happens, and it's interesting that I just said I think, is that the mind squeezes that out. It squeezes out that transition time, which is actually the flow, which is actually the divine creativity. And this is why the energy of being in a time like that is so, it's interesting in Cozumel, Mexico, and you might have noticed that my background looks a little different lately. I've been coming here for close to 21 years now. I kind of lose track of time when I'm down here, because time takes on a whole different experience. It's the spirit of place, connection to nature, feel a strong connection to the goddess Ishel here. And I feel a connection to her wherever I am, but especially here. Something always calls my heart and soul back here every year. And July is when I feel into the energy of July, it's been inviting all of us to really, it's that intersection of different times, different timelines, experiences of time, because right coming up next week, like I shared, is the Mayan day out of time. And it's a sacred invitation for all of us today to look at what is our lives, because wanting to emerge us. And for each and every one of us, it's going to express in its own way. Was with one female friend, and she said, I can't put my finger on it, but something feels off. Something feels, I don't know, I don't understand it. And it's because this is a moment of shift. It's a moment of birth. And if you've been feeling the need to nap, to slow down, to be less productive, is something then I hope you've been honoring for yourself, because that beautiful place of restoration, different than if you were birthing. We need to restore our energy. We need to restore our connection to ourself. If we were birthing a baby, we'd feel that connection to the baby within our womb. And right now, the baby in us is whatever your soul is calling it to be. Maybe it's you're ready to be on a new. We're all that readiness to birth, to accept, to anchor, to acknowledge it's a new way of being in the world, of showing up for yourself and others. It's here now. And this whole month of July in these ways has been that graciousness that we've needed. So just notice if you've been giving yourself the gift of that, or if your mind has been, insisting otherwise. And today, honor that. Find a way, create really honor that. Also, I feel guided to share is that it's a time for seeding new possibilities. And it's just, the birth of a baby, the fertilization process, and being rested and relaxed so that that seed can take root, that seed can begin to the early stages of new life. If we're in mode and all of that, that seed can't take root. So how does that seed take root? We water it with our presence, with imagining and feeling into that imagining, knowing that it's more than an imagining, knowing that it is the timeline that is here for us now, feeling into it as if it's already here, trusting the process. The other really important point that Spirit is guiding me to share today, as it has come through my own field of awareness. Also, I pulled an oracle card around it yesterday, and it came in loud and clear. Trust the process, patience. The spring doesn't look forward to the summer. It just lets itself be the spring. Fall doesn't want to experience spring, summer, winter, fall all at once. It trusts that there's a cycle. And so right now, touch that cycle for yourself. Embrace that cycle. You've been thinking for many years. The mind of form can sometimes come in and judge or criticize that. That is the soul moment of the opening. That in itself is a miracle. Are you ready to let go of that? Are you ready to just say thank you to the mind of form for insisting that you get that lesson, and then allow it to dissolve? Messages I keep hearing is be here now and let miracles be as natural and easy as breathing. It really comes down to presence. It really comes down to the perception we have in each moment. Shifting into gratitude, shifting into a trust that all is well, a trust that the process unfolding as it's meant to, while still taking the inspired action and noticing there's a temptation to get pulled. That's what I feel really strong with you today. And I invite you this coming Thursday to join me in a masterclass in Luminous Lightworker, my Facebook group, where I am going to be doing a special inspired by the beautiful goddess Ishel while I'm here on this beautiful island. A tribute to the day of time to help you restore the sacred to your self-care. And I'm just watching the time here because I know I only have half an hour if I pre-record. And I want this message to get to you. Wishing you infinite creative blessings, lots of love and light. Be well, beautiful, creative soul.